As expected, WWE delivered a phenomenal Money in the Bank 2023 pay-per-view tonight to the London audience in the O2 Arena. What a show. What a show. The funny thing is I'm not even in the least bit surprised by this because I knew based on the card, all the matches we had set up, the potential Money in the Bank winners, and the environment and the venue in which they were in tonight, first actual real pay-per-view in London for 31 years since SummerSlam 1992. I know they might be counting those England-only pay-per-views that they did in the 90s and a few of them in the 2000s, but I don't. In terms of real, actual pay-per-views that are normally on the calendar for WWE, they haven't been over there in quite some time. And every time they visit the O2 for a SmackDown, a Raw, or any special event over there, the crowd is always fire. And this was so fun. I expected it to be. You knew the crowd was going to be bonkers. They were bonkers last night for SmackDown, and you knew, given the card and the matches here tonight, that they were going to make this show a lot of fun, and they did. I think even without the crowd involvement, you still got a pretty damn good card here and a good show, but the crowd is what really made it. And I vote to just have everything taped in London from now on. John Cena made his return, surprised everybody tonight. Nobody knew he was going to be there. WWE teased and advertised nothing. He showed up and started and cut a promo advocating for WrestleMania to be in London. Now, we'll talk about that later, but it was cool to see John Cena on the show tonight. I have no idea why he was there. My gut tells me is he's over there filming a movie and he just happens to be nearby. And he's like, sure, I'll come in and make your day. That's my guess on it. But Cena was a nice surprise. Drew McIntyre showing up tonight and returning. Although I'm a little pissed at Drew because he might be putting in jeopardy my precious honky tonk man Intercontinental title record that I want to see broken. And I want to see Gunther become that man. He's going to have to get past Drew McIntyre first, probably at SummerSlam, which is going to suck because McIntyre will probably win that. So since he's back now. But other than that, overall, the show was great. Very pleased with the two Money in the Bank winners, Damian Priest and Io Sky. I did not do good on my predictions. I opened my predictions video on Friday or Thursday, whenever we did those. Yeah, Thursday. And the very first sentence I said in that video is that I went perfect at AEW Forbidden Door in my predictions for that. I will not go perfect for this show. And I was right. I got the first match right with Damian Priest, and it was all downhill after that. I got the women's tag team title match wrong. We had a big swerve and a surprise in that. I had the world title match wrong. I decided to pick Finn Balor to win the world heavyweight title. I had the women's Money in the Bank match wrong. I picked Trish. So I think that's 3 matches I got incorrect. But Cody, Gunther, and the main event I had right. And I was even kind of right about Jey Uso pinning Roman Reigns, because when you look at the next pay-per-view, it's SummerSlam. The only match right now that makes sense for Roman Reigns is Jey Uso. So what better way to set that up than to have Jey pin Roman here at Money in the Bank? That's what happened. And I'm sure there's going to be tons of chatter and a lot of people, oh, Roman shouldn't have been pinned until he was... Shut up. This was awesome. This is exactly the way it should have been. Roman has got a stranglehold, a chokehold on that world championship, on his undisputed universal backyard McDonald's Mountain Dew championship, whatever it's called. He's got a stranglehold on that thing, and he's not going to drop it probably for close to another year. At this point, we're probably looking at Philly at WrestleMania 40 for Roman's dropping point. So this idea that he shouldn't be pinned until he drops the title, you know, wrestling fans, as we have pointed out many times over the years, don't think forwards or backwards. They live in the moment. They only can process what's around them at the time. So even though it seems like Roman should have been pinned, by the time we get to WrestleMania 40, they're going to forget all about this, and it's not going to matter at all. And plus, this might be WWE's way of just giving the fans a little breath of air instead of just hammering Roman, pinning every single person, winning every single match on every single pay-per-view for 4 years. This way, at least you can come up for air a little bit, have Roman look to be human, have his title on the line and in jeopardy, which it has been many times. And I think tonight, Jey pinning Roman was the right call. It was the right move. It was really the only one, because as much as I love Jey and everything surrounding the story with Roman Reigns, I don't think he's going to be beating Roman Reigns for the championship at SummerSlam. So it's either win here or win at SummerSlam. And since he's probably not going to be beating Roman for the title, this is where you give Jey that pin. That way you can, you know, circle back to this whenever needed, and Jey can always remind Roman that he pinned him. Even though it was him doing the pinning, the Usos together tandemly put Roman down, but it was still an excellent finish to the show. The crowd was so fun through all of it. They maintained their energy and were probably, arguably, maybe even at their most energetic during the main event, which is, says something to the strength of that storyline and that match and to the crowd in London. This show went just under 4 hours long, and they allowed about 45 minutes, if you include entrances, for the main event. It was it was like 10 minutes till the top of the hour of the third hour when that match started, and it ended about 20 minutes ago or so. So it was good stuff all the way around. Happy with the Money in the Bank match outcomes. Happy with Cody and Dom, although I thought Dom could potentially pull off the upset here. The only match, I guess, that I was maybe expecting a little bit more out of would have been Seth Rollins and Finn Balor for the World Heavyweight title. That match felt like it ended a little bit abruptly, although when that match started, I was just starting to get the stream ready, so I wasn't totally paying attention to it, but the way the finish ended and just that little distraction from Damian Priest at the end kind of ended the match sooner than I was expecting it to, and didn't get much out of that match that I was expecting. But overall, still an awesome show. Really enjoyed it, and this was all kinds of fun, and it sets the table pretty nicely for what should prove to be a pretty nice looking SummerSlam card. And we'll get into it here. We'll talk about all the matches one by one. You guys can throw me your letter grades, number grades, anything you want on in terms of your grades or ratings for this show. Let me know, and we'll start getting into it. I debated whether or not to come up here later. We have Collision about to kick off in less than an hour, but Collision was taped. I read the spoilers. We're here to talk about Money in the Bank today. But let me cruise to the chat. Say hi to everybody that is hanging out. I would love it if you guys would give this video a thumbs up. A lot of competition, I'm sure, right now on YouTube. So thumbs up, likes, chat, comments, things like that really help the algorithms and the engagement. We passed over 38,000 subscribers last night, so now we are on the road to 40,000. That's our next immediate goal. Should be there pretty soon, but you need to subscribe and keep telling your friends. So do that for me. I'd appreciate it. And I'll say hi to everybody here in the chat, knock out any supers that are here, and then we will start rolling into this card match by match, because every match has a pretty fair amount to talk about. It was good. Good to see Mab in here. Unreal Men's Money in the Bank. They really had me believing they were going to pull the trigger. Yeah, maybe on LA Knight, you mean? I kind of thought that too. He's really over to a stupid level, and it's almost frustrating that, WWE, don't wait forever. I understand that the story was Priest. We're going to talk about this match in a second, but there is a lot of disappointment in terms of LA Knight. But maybe LA Knight is on the uprise now, because it really does feel like the past couple of weeks on TV on SmackDown that he is setting up a program with Logan Paul. So if that's going to be our match for SummerSlam, LA Knight and Logan Paul, even if LA Knight loses, that's a pretty high-profile match. Will be much better than the Mountain Dew buttfuck match or whatever they had at the Royal Rumble. This will be much bigger and a much bigger deal for LA Knight, and the promo battles on the mic leading up to this should be pretty good. So that's what I'm hoping they do, is LA Knight and Logan Paul. And then after that, even if LA Knight loses, maybe they can somehow take that loss and turn it into, some sort of a push for LA Knight. That's the best we can hope for at this point. But the crowd, we're doing our job, London did their job. All we can do is let WWE know how much we love this guy, and it's up to them if they want to pull the trigger or not. And tonight, they felt like it wasn't the night to do that. So we will see what happens in the future. Good to see Zach and Zane G in here. 7th Seasons in the house. Tatanani is here. Rodrigo's back. Reese Jones, good to see you. Do they have a location for Mania 41 yet? No. I did hear about the potential front runner, but now I forgot who it is. It might have been Minneapolis. I know Minneapolis is in the run, and Vegas is going to have to get one at Allegiant Stadium at some point. But doing it over in London would be pretty amazing. When John Cena, I don't know if he was saying, he just wants the UK to get a WrestleMania, or if he wants London specifically to get a WrestleMania, because if he does, that I think puts it at Wembley, right? Could WWE possibly want to book a WrestleMania for Wembley just to one up AEW? I mean, if they do it for 41, that's going to be like 2 years plus after All In. But if they try to secure Wembley for a WrestleMania, maybe that's their way of stopping Tony Khan from securing Wembley again if All In turns out to be a massive success, which right now, based on the ticket sales, it certainly looks like it's going to be. So maybe that's WWE's way of saying, we're not going to let you get in there. We're going to take Wembley, and we're going to make our show bigger and better. That's what competition's all about, right? So I don't know. I don't know the motivation behind this, if John Cena was just teasing them, or if there's really something behind that. If WWE knows the market they have over there, and we would be idiots to not have a WrestleMania over here. The time difference isn't that bad. If WrestleMania is over in London, what are you going to watch this at 3 p.m. on the East Coast? No problem. I watched WrestleMania 6 at 4 p.m. when I lived on the East Coast back in the day. It used to come on during the day long ago. And then here for me, I just had to start watching at noon, which is a little bit early for me, but I'm awake. It's just a matter of like early on in the day. I'm not really in wrestling watching mode, but we can make that work. We can make exceptions here or there, to put WrestleMania or another big pay-per-view in front of a hot crowd, a hot market, and one that always turns out and delivers every single time, no questions asked. I'm all for it. So we'll be getting into that too, but I don't know where 41 is going to be. None of that is confirmed, but I think Vegas, Minneapolis, Atlanta should get one. Those cities, I'm sure, are all in the running, and they'll probably be hitting Arizona at some point again as well, since they haven't been back there in about 13 years. Who else is in the house? Michael Cuomo's in the house, and so is Deshaun Robinson and Sonic Plays. I got all my friends here. That's awesome. Joshua Aparicio chiming in. You're a member for 10 months. Coming up on 1 year of doing membership. So those of you who have been supporting this long, your channel icons are going to change to something very nice and sparkly. Can't wait. Appreciate the $5 from you, Josh. This I learned from today was that Roman is indeed a wanker. Thank you, London. The pin was a chef's kiss. The mention of London, of a London Mania, 9 out of 10. Hell yeah. Roman is indeed a wanker. The crowd was all up his ass. That was so fun. I couldn't quite make out what they were chanting, something about stand up if you hate Roman. I guess that's some typical British chant for a heel. Wasn't aware of that, but I had trouble hearing what they were saying. And normally, if I can't understand a chant, I just go over to Twitter and just read the timeline. Somebody's going to be talking about it. But unfortunately, Elon butt-fucked his own social media company today and completely screwed it up. So the live tweeting experience for Money in the Bank was completely ruined by the pasty-skinned, weird-ass dork fuckhead. So he screwed all that up, so we couldn't be on Twitter today doing anything. I was tweeting anyway. A lot of you were still seeing it, retweeting it, responding, and liking, but I can't read anything on my timeline. I can't read anything. I can't see tweets. I can't see my own tweets, but I can still tweet somehow. But normally, that's what I would do. I would run to Twitter and say, what are they chanting? But I wasn't able to do that. I asked you guys instead and got a few responses about what that chant was. But yeah, the crowd over there is just always so much fun. I told you guys in the predictions that I was really looking forward to Cody and Dom Dom. I thought that was just going to be a lot of fun. It was. They sang Cody's entire song as he came out to the ring. Just incredible crowd. Can't say enough good things about our friends over in London. So awesome job, guys. If you were there, please let us know in the chat. A few of you were at the show and have let me know through Twitter throughout the day and this past week, but I kind of forgot who you were. But if you were at the show and you have anything to add and you're here, please drop it in the chat. Sonic Plays, I got you. Big J, happy Saturday to you, my friend. We got a lot of 8.5s out of 10s. I saw that number coming in a lot for this pay-per-view. Good to see William, Penguin Pizza, David Brown in the house. Tatanani, I think I got you already. Nicola is here. We got Shell Shock, the Juliet. Thank you. In case I forget something, I probably will. I always said that Paul's presence in that match was to set up a possible match for him at SummerSlam, and I feel like LA Knight at this point. Yeah, that's what we were hoping. But when they enter somebody like Logan Paul into the Money in the Bank, I was thinking that it was very possible he could win it. At the end of the day, I felt the same way you did, and I did not pick him to win. Picked Damian Priest instead, hoping that this was the direction they were going to go in, and now it looks like it is. So Paul and Knight on the mic together leading up to SummerSlam should be pretty good. I'm down. Good to see Isaac, another channel member in here as well. Dean Ryder, Sophie's here. We've got Max Pokebra. We have, I lost my spot again. Deshaun Robinson, did I get you? Not Nashville is also set to get a WrestleMania. Yeah, they probably will as well. I think one should go to Charlotte. Daniel, good to see you, my friend. Would you go to Wembley for Mania? It depends on when it is. A couple years from now, if it's WrestleMania 42 or 43, I might. I've never been to England, ever. So that would be fun. Just depends on how far in the future it is and if I can plan it out. Being here on the West Coast, it's even a gnarlier flight to get over there. It's bad enough if you're on the East Coast, but that would be quite the trip. I mean, I'd have to plan, a few days just for travel alone, and that's going to be tough to pull off. It was much easier when it was a 2-hour drive north from where I am right now. You know what I'm saying? So as of right now, I'm probably not going to go to Wembley for any Manias unless the stars align perfectly and, my investments perform really well. That's all. That's the only thing that I can hope for there. Otherwise, I'll probably stay put right here in San Diego. BK Esquire is here as well. Good to see you. White Mamba is here. Happy Bobby Bonilla Day. Today's Bobby Bonilla Day? That's awesome. Bobby Bonilla. I still have all of his rookie cards. I liked Bobby Bonilla. Who else is here that I haven't seen? Deshaun Priest bleeds world champion material. Glad he won. I am too. And there's been a lot of complaining lately about Vince McMahon and his involvement in creative and changes he's making and whatnot. But this feels like he let Triple H have his way. You know, I mean, is Damian Priest and Io Sky especially, the two people you would think that Vince would choose to win Money in the Bank? Feels like last year was more Vince's speed with Austin Theory and all that nonsense. But given the fact that Priest won, he's a Triple H guy. Io Sky won as well, who was brought back to the company. And we had Roman being pinned. These are big decisions with big long-term implications. And it feels like Triple H's decisions, you know, these were his. Triple H didn't have somebody else. Triple H didn't have Trish Stratus picked. And then Vince was like, nah, go with Io. You know that didn't happen. So this makes me feel like by the results, when you read them, this was mostly Triple H. I can't see Vince making too much changes to this. And maybe Vince's thing is just with the TV. Maybe Vince's big thing is he likes to make changes to TV and segments and move that shit around because he's so fucking obsessed with that crap. And if he wants to do that, I don't care because I have very little interest in their TV shows, to be honest with you. I'm here for the pay-per-views. And as long as the pay-per-views can deliver, that's all I care about. And they have been consistently all year. Rumble, Elimination Chamber, Mania, Backlash, Night of Champions. WWE's been on a roll, and they've been really delivering solid stuff all year. I love the way the pay-per-view was set up, the different set, you know, without the big screen and stage that allows you to put more people in this building. And I think anytime they hold pay-per-views, they should do the set with the long, you know, runway or whatever. And even if you're not in a stadium, if you're in a smaller building and you do that, that opens up more seats behind where the Titantron would normally go, or whatever they call the Big Tron now. So I like that. And at least if they did that for all pay-per-views, it would give pay-per-views a different feel than Raws and SmackDowns. And I think that would be important. So I kind of like the dugout entrance there, you know, that they started a few years ago at the Rumble with the side entrance. I like that. Whether it's in a big arena or a small arena, I really dig it. Backlash had the same thing, if you remember, and it was good. So I think anytime there's a pay-per-view where they know they can sell the building out, go with that set. That way you can pack as many people in there as possible. The setup looked good. The crowd looked good. It looked like a lot of fun. I wish I was there. In the middle of it because, yeah, it was good stuff. Doug Unfunny, Io versus Asuka at SummerSlam. Yeah, seems likely, but I don't know, Doug. When you're the briefcase holder, generally you're not going to call your shot. You know, some people do, but throughout history, how many times has somebody won the briefcase and then they say, hey, I want to cash it in next month at the pay-per-view? That's rare. I think it's happened a time or two, but I don't think Io's going to be doing it like that. I think Io's probably going to win in a cash-in scenario, which is perfectly fine. And then how that factors into her and Bayley's relationship, whether they have a complete breakdown before, because if you remember, Io tonight handcuffed Bayley to get the briefcase. So Bayley might be pissed. We might have a split as early as Friday on SmackDown in Madison Square Garden. But in terms of Io and Asuka at SummerSlam, I don't think that's a given just because Io has the briefcase. I think Asuka is going to be working with Charlotte and Bianca because the three of them obviously have got stuff going on. Bianca interfered in the championship match last night between Asuka and Charlotte. I feel like a three-way is what they're going to do there. So if Io wants to cash in there, which is where I had Trish cashing in, I had Charlotte winning the title and Trish cashing in on her. You can still do the same thing and just do it with Io Sky. But with Io, I feel like she's going to win in a cash-in scenario, and I would prefer, maybe like a Juliet is saying, for them to wait a little bit and not do any quick cash-ins because we've had some White Knight cash-ins the past couple of years, and you know, maybe waiting a little bit would be better. They balanced this out the way I thought. I did say in my predictions that I believed you would have a Raw person win one briefcase and a SmackDown person win the other. Or if they were both on the same brand, then one briefcase holder would cash in immediately over and move to the other show. It was going to be something like that, to where a briefcase has a presence on the red show and the blue show. And that's what they did tonight with Damian Priest and Io Sky. So it balanced out pretty well, I feel like. But reading some of these comments, yeah, Yeah, some people are saying there's a few things they didn't love on the show, but certainly not deal breakers. I think overall everybody's going to give this pay-per-view a pretty solid grade. Yo, Spectra, thanks for the $2 popping in. Hope you're having a good 4. I hope you have a good 4. Thank you so much. I'm probably going to be working because the next day I leave, I go to the East Coast to visit some family and some friends. So the 4th is probably going to be pretty boring for me, to be honest. I'm probably going to be at work. We're going to be dead because everybody's out doing fireworks stuff. And I'm just going to be probably hanging out there. 4th will be probably a little boring, but my 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th are going to be fucking bomb. But thank you, Spectra, for that. And happy 4th of July, technically weekend to all of you here in the good old U.S. of America and all that jazz. All right. Well, now that we've got all the pleasantries out of the way and we've been talking for a bit, chatting about our overall thoughts and giving a kind of just a basic recap of the show, we should start talking about the actual show match by match here. Let's get into it. The Money in the Bank kickoff, I didn't really watch much of that. It was a kind of a combination of the studio format and then kicking it into the live arena. The only thing I saw was earlier on in the day, by the way, Judgment Day, or maybe it was while they've been out there. Judgment Day recreated the Beatles' Abbey Road album cover, which was great. And Finn Balor keeping his socks off, just like McCarthy was McCartney, excuse me, was a really, really nice touch. Loved that. And I also loved Kayla Braxton interviewing Paul Heyman backstage, and he's like legitimately crying, just tears, and his eyes are welled up. Looks like he just rubbed jalapenos in his eyes or something. He said, I'm all about the Civil War. It's fucking great stuff. But the main card, as expected, and I do think WWE announced this earlier on in the day, the men's match opened up the show. So we started with the men's Money in the Bank match, which in the predictions, this is the match I said they should start with because they need to start with a Money in the Bank match. We know that. There's 2 of them. So one's going to open up the show. And honestly, when you have a hot rocking crowd like that and you have a field in the men's match and you got people like Ricochet and Santos Escobar and even Logan Paul in there, I felt like this is the match to start with. They're going to do crazier shit than the women. We're going to see some insane bumps and crazy stuff. And I think this is the best match to really get that crowd going. And that's what they opened with. Now, the participants in this, in case you don't remember, was Butch, Ricochet, Santos Escobar, Nakamura, Damian Priest, LA Knight, and Logan Paul. Everybody made their entrances. Butch came out first to an amazing ovation. I think they said he grew up just like 2 hours north of there. So he looked great. When I see him in there, it's just like, why is he not Pete Dunne? I have Daniel Bryan vibes with him, in WWE. I feel like under the right circumstances, he could get over, the same way Danielson did when he was Daniel Bryan in WWE. And the fans love him, and he's awesome, and he's featured every week on SmackDown. He's in a faction with a couple of top stars, or with one top star anyway. And it's all there, but that name change to Butch, I'm surprised, is still there. I thought Triple H would have fixed that by now. Santos Escobar came out there in some Aztec tribal dress and war paint. He looked really cool. And the crowd, of course, was crazy hot. LA Knight made his entrance, and he got the biggest pop of everybody. And when Logan made his entrance, he was being booed pretty heavily. So there was no worries about the London crowd being so excited that it would seem like they were cheering for Logan Paul. No, they weren't. They wanted nothing to do with him. And that was a good sign to me, because I don't think WWE is going to give this audience that outcome in the first match. When they're there, they're hyped, they're ready to rock and roll. I think a crowd like that could survive and sustain anything, no matter how disappointing, and keep their energy up. But that's a risk I wouldn't want to take if I was Triple H. And to have Logan Paul win this match in the opening match, I feel like might have deflated them a little bit, although they seem indeflatable. They were just so jacked. But really loved hearing the reactions individually for LA Knight and Logan Paul and all of that. Now, they had a bunch of good spots in this. It was all over the place, and a couple of really crazy ones. Logan did a frog splash onto Damian Priest on a bridged ladder that was over the apron and the announce table. And of course, that thing didn't give at all. I loved Butch. Butch was basically on a bridged ladder in the ring. I think it was bridged on maybe the second rope and the ladder. He's laying on it, choking out Santos Escobar, and Ricochet comes off the top with a springboard 450 and lands on both of them. That looked really good and crazy. But the craziest spot, I think, in the whole match was the incredibly close call that Ricochet and Logan Paul had executing a Spanish fly from like the middle rope off the ring and through a table. And Logan and Ricochet are kind of, I don't even know how to explain what they were doing, but they were kind of like teetering on the second rope. They start to fall and crumple, and you feel like whatever they're trying to do is not going to happen. And as they're falling, they still somehow are able to recover and execute, albeit a bad one, but still a Spanish fly onto both of the tables. They crash through. It might have just been one table. I forgot. They crash through him. Logan lands on his head, gets his shoulder all cut up. Ricochet lands in a very awkward way, but both of them seemed to be fine. It was an incredible recovery, to be honest. I mean, yeah, it was kind of a botch, and it looked unsafe and dangerous, but at the same time, it could have been worse. I think two less athletic wrestlers would have had a problem there, and one of them could have been seriously injured. But the athleticism of somebody like Ricochet and Logan Paul, who doesn't even do this a lot, and it doesn't even have the same, spatial awareness that other wrestlers would have, you would think, for him to even be able to also help get that move done was pretty damn incredible. And that was just a good recovery. Could have been bad. Luckily, it wasn't. And that was probably my favorite spot of the match, just because how gnarly it looked. LA Knight, man, you thought he had it. You thought he had it. But what made me know he didn't have it was how close the camera was zoomed in on him. LA Knight had everybody down. I think somebody was climbing up there. Might have been Logan Paul, Santos. I can't remember. LA Knight knocked him down. I think he hit him with his finisher. And then it looked like that was it. He was in the ring all by himself, and he starts to climb up the ladder pretty quick, but then the camera zooms in on him so you can't see what's going on around him. Like, oh, fuck. And he's got his hand on the little clip thing, and I'm about to be excited until you see Damian Priest's head rise up from the other side, and you're like, oh, fuck. And Damian Priest, I don't know what he tried to hit him with, a broken arrow or a superplex or something like that, off the top of the ladder. They go down. LA Knight's down. Priest then is all by himself. He simply climbs up the ladder, retrieves the briefcase, and wins it, which makes me very happy, while at the same time being very disappointed for LA Knight. I love LA Knight. He is the guy. Fans love him. When somebody is being cheered for that loudly, and fans are being this vocal about how much they want to see a push for him, it's frustrating when that doesn't happen. But when you look at the Money in the Bank briefcase, I feel like Damian Priest was the right guy. He's really the only guy there that has a story, everything with the Judgment Day, his stablemate currently feuding with the current World Heavyweight Champion. And it feels like there's just more story to tell with Damian Priest, where if LA Knight won it, that would have been a great way just to launch him and make him a star immediately without having to do the build. So you could have gone either way there. I would have been happy with either outcome. All I wanted was for Logan Paul to not win. So at the end of the day, if Priest or Knight retrieve the briefcase, that's all I was really looking for at the end of the day. And maybe that was part of getting Logan in there too. Maybe that was done strategically. Maybe Triple H was like, the fans are going to be pissed. I mean, Priest is a heel anyway, so it's not like it's two baby faces fighting for the briefcase in Priest and LA Knight. Priest is a heel. If the fans are going to boo him, good, he's a heel. But maybe Triple H was thinking that if it was just the two of them, fans would be more pissed about LA Knight, so he put Logan Paul in there. That way, when Logan Paul didn't win it, the fans would say just what I'm saying. Well, I kind of wanted LA Knight to win, but really all I cared about was that Logan Paul didn't win. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but at the end of the day, Priest has got your briefcase, and I think that's a pretty good sign, honestly, that Priest will be a champion. I think you don't give Priest the briefcase for him to unsuccessfully cash in. And I think this is a big day for Damian Priest's career, because in my mind, it all but guarantees he's going to be a champion, a world champion. I don't think he's going to do what Austin Theory did and cash in on the U.S. title or whatever. And because Roman is holding the other belts hostage, you have another champion now in Seth Rollins. You had the distraction by Priest in that match that could, later on in the night, that could set up a rematch between Balor and Seth and have Priest cash in or something on one of them. I feel like Priest winning the briefcase means he's going to be champion. And that's really good because he deserves it. He's really, really put his work in. He's worked hard. He's performed well. And I think he's on the verge of a babyface turn. Honestly, maybe not. He's got that briefcase, and briefcases are the best on heels. And even tonight, he distracted his own partner. So he'll probably, stay heel for a little while. But I feel like the fans do like him, do appreciate him. And I don't think too many fans are going to be upset if he actually becomes World Heavyweight Champion at some point, because I don't think he's cashing in on Roman. Even if he teases it, even if he tries to show up on SmackDown and remind Roman he's got the briefcase, I think the belt on Raw is the one that he's going to be targeting when he finally does win it. And I'm going to be excited when he does, because I like Damian Priest. What about y'all? Oh, let me knock out these anymore. Fuck Logan, damn scammer. Hell yeah. Stephen Harris, Hot Rod, Decimania. Good to see you. Anybody else chiming in? Doug Unfunny, yeah, the Ricochet spot was extremely scary. Oh yeah, Io needs to get a reaction in the States, because if not, Zelina was the better option. Yeah, I know. I don't love Zelina. She's just trying so hard to get that damn flip-flop over, and it's just not working for her. It's like when Jericho's trying to be the Wizard. I'm like, dude, nobody wants to call you the Wizard. And I'm like, Zelina, nobody cares about your flip-flop. Sorry. Just nobody does. At least I don't. Yeah, I feel the same way as you, Steven. Anyway, next match is one that I did not think we were going to have to spend much time on, because I thought it was a filler match, bathroom break, buffer, go pick your nose match, whatever. Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey defending their newly unified women's tag team championships against Raquel Rodriguez and the newly returning Liv Morgan. And I did not spend much time on this match in my predictions. I'm like, they're not going to take the belts off of Shayna and Ronda right now. They just became a team, finally, a dominant team. They unified the titles. I think they should run with them for a while. And I just didn't see it happening here. But during the match, as I think Ronda has got a chokehold on somebody, Shayna Baszler just comes in the ring and starts attacking Ronda Rousey, starts attacking her own partner, beating the hell out of Ronda, locks her in the Kurafita clutch, and allows Ronda and Shayna to get the win. And Liv Morgan is the one that hits Ronda with her finisher thing and pins her. Liv Morgan pinning Ronda Rousey for a championship in back-to-back Money in the Bank pay-per-views. Last year, she won the briefcase and cashed in on Ronda, remember? Now, she's beating her for the tag team titles. Liv has got Ronda's number. That's pretty interesting. So this is like, wow, I did not see that happening. But the minute I did, I'm like, oh, okay, I see what our SummerSlam match is going to be. It's going to be Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey. I have been wondering for a long time the status of Ronda Rousey's WWE contract. It feels like she is going through the motions, working out the rest of her time. She just does not seem like somebody who's going to sign and re-up for another 3 or 5 years with the company. It just doesn't feel like it. So I have no clue what her contract status is. She left to go have a baby. Maybe she came back to finish up her deal and then it's going to be over. And if that's the case, her final match probably should be against her good buddy Shayna Baszler, who she has a ton of history with. So if that's what they're setting up here for, I'm all for it. Either way, we're going to be getting a Ronda and Shayna feud, it looks like. Maybe just a match, but maybe a full-blown feud here. And we know it's going to happen at SummerSlam. We know we're going to get a match between these two now at SummerSlam, and maybe this is a career match. Maybe on SmackDown, Ronda comes out, she's pissed. She challenges Shayna Baszler to a match at SummerSlam, career versus career, and Shayna beats Ronda and Ronda retires. I mean, think about it from Ronda's perspective. If she's going to leave wrestling, she's done with wrestling. She came in, made her mark. She's going to leave now. Who would you want to lose to on your last night? I'd be picking Shayna Baszler too. Another fighter, another combat sports fighter who's your friend. She can now benefit from a victory over you. And you can leave and give her that little push on the way out the door. That's the way I'd write it. Now, I could be completely off. Ronda Rousey could be sticking around for another year, 2, 3 in WWE, for all I know. But if this is going to be the end for her, or if she was ever going to wrap up things and leave WWE, it feels like a match with Shayna Baszler would be the way to get her out of the company. So maybe that's what they're going to do, but a big upset there, Raquel and Liv. And I didn't even see, do they have all 4 of these belts? There's the NXT and the women's tags still, they haven't unified these into single belts yet, right? I didn't even watch the entrances. I didn't even watch the celebration. I don't know if Liv and Raquel were holding up 4 belts or 2. No idea. But if Raquel and Liv now are going to be champions, try to give them a run, because at least they were a team before where a lot of the other women are just kind of slapped together. But Shayna and Ronda splitting up, I think, was the surprise that nobody saw coming there. And we'll see how that sets up their SummerSlam match. If you're ever going to do a fight pit with the women or something like that, this would be the match to do it. Bring back the Lion's Den match that took place at SummerSlam. In 99 with Kenny and Owen? Do something like that. Or no, in 98, I guess, not 99, with Kenny and Owen. So we'll see, but that was a pretty surprising turn of events, and Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez are your new women's tag team champions. After that, we had all unified, Greg. Okay. Yeah, I know they're unified. I just didn't know if they still have the 4 belts or not, or if they're just carrying the 2 belts, because Sammy and Kevin have got their 4 belts each, or 2 belts each. So, that's annoying. After that, we had Gunther defending his Intercontinental Championship against Riddle. Not much I was worried about in this match. Did not see Gunther losing in any way. However, I did think a return was possible. But Drew McIntyre is not who was on my radar. He should have been. Who was on my radar was Randy Orton. I kind of thought that maybe Gunther would beat Riddle. Imperium would continue to beat down Riddle after the match. And then Randy Orton would show back up, make the save. A joyous Riddle, so happy to see him. And then you would book Orton and Gunther at SummerSlam and have Gunther beat him, and then go on to break Honky Tonk Man's record. And then after that, you do a split with Orton and Riddle, and they can work a feud together or something like that. But instead, we got a decent little match between Gunther and Riddle. Gunther makes Riddle tap out because Matt Riddle is dealing with a bummed foot, and he's already in there barefoot as it is. So Gunther was able to take advantage of that, and Riddle taps out. Right after the match, Drew McIntyre's music plays, and Drew McIntyre returns. You got a great ovation from the crowd. He comes out, he attacks Gunther, hits him with a Claymore, grabs the Intercontinental title, holds it over him, which makes me incredibly nervous. Drew, I'm begging you, Scottish Warrior, or whatever you're called. Don't mess up Gunther breaking Honky Tonk Man's record. I would really be bummed out if Gunther makes it all the way to this point, and then just like 2 weeks. When is SummerSlam anyway? I know he breaks the record, I believe, on September 8th. So SummerSlam is going to be a couple of weeks before that. And I would be super bummed if he lost the title just a few days short of breaking that record. That would really piss me off. But now it feels like that's a real possibility of actually happening. Is McIntyre winning the title here from Gunther? I mean, McIntyre came up short at WrestleMania. Is he going to come up short again unless Drew McIntyre really does plan to leave the company? There was talks that he was going to wait and not re-sign with them. I don't know if his return means that he has extended his deal, or if this return means he's not going to re-sign his deal, so WWE is going to bring him into job. And if that's the case, then maybe Gunther beats McIntyre clean, and then McIntyre is gone from the company and he goes to AEW. Because if his contract is done at the end of the year, they'd probably just beat him at SummerSlam and then just get him out of there. Let him just sit out 4 months, and then he can go to AEW or whatever, if that's the plan. But if he's back, if he's re-signed, I don't know if any of the websites have reported anything yet, then that's great. I'm happy he's sticking around, but worried that Gunther's IC title run could be in jeopardy. I'd rather see him continue to roll with it because I love it. We'll have to see what happens there. August 5th. It's way early. Okay, so it'll be a whole month before he breaks the record. So August 5th is SummerSlam. Okay, yeah, so that's coming up in a month. So yeah, it could be his final match. Randy Orton could interrupt the match maybe, but I also feel like when Randy Orton shows up, it's going to have to be Riddle related, right? He's going to have to do something with Matt Riddle. Orton showing up in Gunther and McIntyre, I don't know where he really fits in there unless he wants to target Gunther or whatever. But I would rather see Orton and Gunther at SummerSlam and Gunther beat him. But yeah, if McIntyre does intend on leaving the company, I mean, he's a stand-up guy, a professional. He's not going to leave with any bitter feelings. He'll be more than happy to come in and do whatever WWE tells him to do. Of course, I'll put my friends over before I leave. What are you, nuts? Yes, whoever you want to beat me, I'll let him beat me. No problem. Drew does not seem like somebody who would balk at any of that stuff. So he's contractually obligated to be there to do these jobs and to have these matches. Then he's going to do it, and that's the way it is. But no clue right now Ryan Adams is saying that Triple H in the press conference said he and Drew had talks while he was out, and Drew being upset would be news to him, and Drew and Triple H laughed about the rumored reports. Okay, good. Michael Cole also mentioned the rumored reports too when McIntyre came out. He's like, apparently the Drew McIntyre's future being in question is wrong or whatever. So he's probably sticking around. Good. Drew McIntyre is kind of a WWE guy. I think he'd be great in AEW, but McIntyre, I feel like will always be treated well in WWE, even if he's not at the very, very top. And anything that has happened to him that's been unfortunate was kind of just due to COVID. I think I'll always feel terrible that McIntyre never got that moment. He had to have a SummerSlam moment in front of 6 people instead of 80,000. That's got to be rough and hard to swallow, but that's nobody's fault. And McIntyre sticking around is fine with me. But thanks for the update. If Triple H says anything else interesting on in the press conference, please let us know here in the chat. Maybe a DQ at SummerSlam, yeah, but I don't know if you want to be doing DQs at SummerSlam. With the triple threat match at Mania, that was good. I thought the triple threat was made so Gunther didn't have to be pinned. So yeah, I don't know. McIntyre and Gunther, it feels like Gunther would finally lose here, but I hope not, man. He just has to win one more big pay-per-view match. Just one more title defense. If he can beat Drew at SummerSlam, I feel that's a done deal. Then it's Honky Tonk Man's record is broken. Can't see him dropping the belt and failing to break the record on SmackDown or something like that. So it's going to make SummerSlam interesting. The only thing that maybe we can hope for is that maybe they do put somebody else in the match. Maybe it's McIntyre, Gunther, and another guy for another triple threat again. Maybe it's a WrestleMania rematch. That triple threat was great. If Sheamus wants to get back involved, and then Gunther can just win again and stack the fuckers and pin them both like he did at WrestleMania. Or I think he pinned Drew, actually. So we will see where that goes. Triple H on LA Knight in the press conference says good things come to people that wait. Well, I guess he's meaning us. Yeah, I mean, obviously he might have a little bit more plan for LA Knight now since he's probably going to be working with Logan Paul. That's a definite step up. But when you hesitate and wait and fail to pull the trigger too many times, sometimes the fans will lose interest. So just be careful, WWE, when you want to wait so long to do shit. Sometimes by the time you do it, well, now we don't care because you had us. We would have eaten this shit up if you just would have given it to us. Now you're going to make us wait 9 months or a year and a half. We forgot. We don't give a fuck anymore. So Triple H has got to be mindful of that. Oh, yeah. Sheamus is on SmackDown. Thank you for that, Rodrigo. Because we all know when you're drafted, it's permanent. No, but you're right. Sheamus is SmackDown. He wouldn't work in that Intercontinental title match. Deshaun, what's up, dude? Appreciate the $5 from you. Triple H said during the press conference that this was the highest grossing event in WWE history. Must be it can't be. I mean, it wouldn't beat out a WrestleMania in terms of dollar amounts, ticket sales, that type of thing. It's got to be highest grossing event in London in WWE history or highest grossing non-WrestleMania event or something like that. I don't know what highest grossing really pertains to, but there's been a lot of WrestleManias that have pulled in tremendous dollar amounts. I can't see Money in the Bank beating that, but I don't know. I'll have to watch some of that press conference when it's over. If you've got any context on that, let me know. What is the next match? Oh, yes. It's time for Cody and Dom. I was really looking forward to this one. I was putting it over in the predictions and on the podcast recently. I feel like this match has got us in a position to potentially have a Rock and Hogan level crowd interaction, in terms of them just hanging on every punch, every mannerism, every move, everything. John Cena, One Night Stand 06, Money in the Bank 2011, atmospheres like that is what I was expecting to see here, and we pretty much did. Dominik came out to a ton of boos. Rhea Ripley, my God, how badass did she look? She had Dirty Dom painted on her cheek, which looked great. She looked awesome with the hair and the outfit and all that stuff. I don't know if it was a cosplay on anything, but it looked pretty damn good. And Cody then made his entrance, and the fans, I already said in the predictions that I was really ready for the whoa part of his song. I kind of forgot that these fans will probably just sing the whole goddamn thing, which is exactly what they did. Word for word. They missed nothing. They sang every word until the song shut off. They did not stop. I was laughing my ass off. And of course, when we got to the whoa part, it was pretty badass. Good stuff there from Cody. I think even Cody was a little bit overwhelmed or taken back by it. Like, man, he's the most over he's ever been. I don't think he could ever even imagine that he'd be over to this point, even when he was in AEW. I don't think things in WWE could have gone better for him. A lot of us thought it was a mistake coming to WWE, and look how well things worked out for Cody. Unbelievable entrance. As the match starts, Dominik, of course, wants to target the injured arm of Cody, but Cody was just fronting. He pulls off that cast. Hey, my arm's not even hurt. Dominik freaks out. He starts running away. Cody chases him down the aisleway, and as he's bringing him back, dragging him back into the ring, the fans are going, whoa, and then he throws him in the ring. Yeah, great stuff. Great stuff. Of course, they went back and forth a little bit. Rhea Ripley tried to intimidate Cody. He, of course, did not hit her in the end. He was able to secure a victory over Dominik by hitting him with a crossroads, just like we expected for the win. I picked Cody to win here. A lot of fans thought that Dominik could get an upset here, and I thought he could too if they wanted to do something like have Brock come back. But for as many people as I saw predicting Brock doing a run in here, I did not. You know, Brock is Brock. Brock is not going to get on a plane and fly 14 hours to London and be uncomfortable in a tiny seat or whatever, even if it's a private plane. He's not going to fly all the way over there to deliver one F5 and then fly all the way home. If they want to set up the Brock and Cody match at SummerSlam, which we know we're going to get, they can set that up on Monday in Baltimore. Brock can just stay right here in the States and do that. He does not need to go to Money in the Bank. But based on some of the other return, we just saw a return in the previous match. I'm like, well, maybe it would happen. And after this, we would see yet another return. So if that scenario would have happened, it would have been like Drew, Brock, and Cena. That would have been too much. Plus, you know, like I said, Brock isn't the type of dude that's just going to say, oh, yeah, I'll just take 3 days out of my life to go hit an F5, to travel there, go to the show, hit the F5, fly home. You know, my whole fucking weekend's ruined just to hit the American shithead with a F5. Get the fuck out of here. I'll do it in Baltimore. So that's probably what they're going to do. I expect to see Brock on Raw on Monday, attacking Cody Rhodes, setting up whatever they're going to do at SummerSlam. And that might be a Hell in a Cell match. We'll have to see what they do. After Cody and Dom, we had the surprise of the night. John Cena's music starts to play. And I'm like, what the fuck? That's a nice surprise. And out comes Johnny. John Cena hits the ring. He's got his gear on, and the crowd goes nuts. Nobody was expecting to see him. The crowd was cheering incredibly loudly and incredibly hard, like super hard for him, to where he was even a little bit surprised himself, I believe, because he made some sort of a comment about the crowd loving him, joking with the crowd about how much they love him. You know, I used to be here and you guys used to chant, you know, until you're blue in the face that John Cena sucks. And now they were saying they were chanting Cena. They were just showering him with love, you know, just making it rain with love all over John Cena's head. And it's just more validation for me. You know, ever since 2010, I've been sitting here in this chair and I've said, one day you're going to love him. And I promise you that. And I've said that 15,000 times over the past decade. And every time something like this happens, I feel vindicated. Now, granted, this is the O2. They're going to pretty much love anybody on a night like this, but they really showed Cena a lot of love. And he talked about the crowd, how energetic, how awesome they were, and says that he feels like London should get a WrestleMania, which brought a ton of cheers up. And I marked out for that. I would love to see that because that crowd is just going to be next level, man. Yeah, granted, it's not going to be everybody from London there. There's going to be a lot of outsiders. There's going to be a lot of people from the States making that show to maybe level out the noise a little bit. But just being there, if you can imagine the atmosphere we got in Money in the Bank tonight, times that by 4 or 5, maybe not 4, 2, 3. There was 20,000, there was 19,000 in the building tonight. So about 3 times, possibly 4 times larger, that environment in a stadium like Wembley or something with that vibe and that energy. It might go down as the best WrestleMania of all time before it even happens. That's how great something like that would be. So I would advocate for that as well. Cool for John Cena to go to bat for that crowd. And he was then interrupted by Grayson Waller. So not much of a surprise here. Cena being interrupted by a heel, especially a new one that could maybe benefit from a rub from a segment from Cena. And this was perfect. Waller comes out, seems to be pretty healthy now. I think he was nursing a leg injury. or a broken leg, seemed to be moving around pretty good. The crowd chants, "Shut the fuck up," as he's walking to the ring, trying to insult John Cena. They won't let him. He can't talk. He was talking about John Cena's movies and how he was really touched by them, but the crowd couldn't give two shits. They were just like, "Boo, shut up, shut up." Waller gets in the ring. The crowd quiets down a little bit, and he runs down Cena's recent losses and even mentions the WrestleMania loss to The Fiend and talked about how meta that was, which I thought was pretty funny. And maybe that's a sign that, the Fiend is going to turn back up, or maybe not the Fiend, but Bray Wyatt is going to turn back up in WWE at some point, maybe this year, if they're kind of bringing him up and bringing up Cena losses to him. Waller says that John Cena's idea for a London WrestleMania is stupid, and where WrestleMania should be going is Australamania, or whatever the fuck he called it. So Cena, this is great. Cena tells Waller, he goes, "Can I just enjoy some time with my friends?" Which was brilliant and hilarious, because there is that viral video going around of somebody approaching Cena. It looked like it was like at an airport bar. I couldn't tell where it was, but it was Cena sitting there with one of his friends drinking a beer or something, and somebody walks by and says something to Cena. He's like, "What?" And you're like, "Can you say can't see me?" He's like, "Can I spend some time with my friends, please?" or whatever. Basically just told the dude to fuck off in the nicest way possible. And we've seen so many wrestlers and videos now of fans bum rushing people at the airport to sign their little stupid ass fluffy, puffy figures, whatever those things are called, just to sell them, and being completely inconsiderate dicks to wrestlers. And of course, everybody that's bothered, you see a wrestler go, "Oh, dude, you can't see me. Mick Foley, did it hurt when you fell off the cell?" They have to deal with that shit all the fucking time. But what was weird about that video, if you saw it, John Cena, when he looked around, it did look like he was wearing his John Cena respect hat. Is that what Cena does? Does he really go out in his shit to socialize? Like, if John Cena met me for a beer and he showed up in his WWE shirt and his hat, and I'm like, "Can you put something else on? You look really stupid." But I did find that funny that Cena just can't even be mean. He's basically like, "Just leave me alone. I'm not going to humor you to do a you can't see me for you to stick on your talk tick or whatever." So I love that. And the fact that Cena referenced this in the promo was pretty good. And after that, a brawl started. I think Waller actually attacked Cena and started beating him down. Cena, of course, recovers, whoops his ass, hits him with an AA, and celebrates with the crowd, and, mingles with the fans and the kids on the way out. Great stuff. Really nice, surprising segment that didn't make me say, "Oh, what's he doing here? Fuck this," or whatever. It was fun. It was great to see John Cena. We don't get to see him much. He took a loss to Austin Theory in one of his most phoned-in performances of his entire career at WrestleMania. And I would really and I think it would be nice if John Cena could take a break from movies long enough to do one more title run in the WWE. Not a year, nothing like Roman's doing. Come in, win the title at WrestleMania, drop it at SummerSlam, or win the title at SummerSlam, drop it at 2 pay-per-views from then, or something. I don't know. Win a title in some significant town or venue where you've won a title before, something like that. One more run, hold it for 2 months, drop it to somebody to give them a big boost, somebody that hasn't beaten you before or whatever, and then get out of there. Then that way you've got your 17th run. John Cena never got a chance, actually. It's too late. It's too late now that I think about it. John Cena cannot be Universal Champion, can he? Unless he wins Roman's belt, but then that's technically half of the belt he's already had and half that he hasn't. I don't know how that works. But now we got another championship. Is John Cena going to finish his WWE career with 2 world championships that he never won? I don't know. I feel like we might get one. I'd like to see it, but that all depends on Cena. That depends on what his schedule is, what his future is, and what he wants to do. Maybe he's realized that, I just can't go out there and win a championship with this bald spot. So I think I'm going to stick to movies. He might feel that way. We don't know. Either way, I have been proud to have John Cena's back since day one. Even though I understood his problems and had moments of frustration just like all fans did, I insisted, just on pure principle, not to fall into that John Cena hate that was programmed and tattooed into the brains of so many fans a generation younger than me. Wasn't going to do it. And I'm proud to say that I never got on that bandwagon and never became one of those sheep. I found it exhausting, and their attacks and their opinions were poorly thought out and based purely on hate and had no logic, rhyme, or reason to them at all. So every time I see Cena come out and get warmly welcomed, I think of that. After that, we had the women's Money in the Bank match. Participants: Bayley, Io Sky, Zelina Vega, Zoe Stark, Becky Lynch, and Trish Stratus. I had this one picked wrong. I had Trish not only winning, I had fantasy booked an entire scenario of her winning the championship at SummerSlam from Charlotte. I thought that would have been great for Trish to win the briefcase because I don't want to see Rhea Ripley get cashed in on. So I thought Trish cashing in on the SmackDown brand, especially since it looks like they're setting up a three-way with Asuka, Charlotte, and Bianca at SummerSlam, most likely, at least based on the outcome of the match on SmackDown last night. That's the direction it feels like they're going. So I thought Trish could come in, like Charlotte could win the title, and then Trish could cash in on her, getting revenge for her loss at SummerSlam 4 years earlier in 2019, putting Trish on SmackDown, letting Fox have the Trish Stratus experience for a while, and that way you have one belt cashed in on SmackDown and the other belt cashed in on Raw whenever Damian Priest decides to take that World Heavyweight title. I had it all figured out, or so I thought. Plus, Trish is the only person in there with a little bit of help with Zoe Stark, although the only story really is Io and Bayley. You know, Trish and Becky already have their story, their ongoing issue. They're going to have a match at SummerSlam guaranteed. So that's already happening. Bayley and Io, however, have had their little dissension and their problems within Damage Control. And if Io were to win here, that would have pretty big implications. So it did feel like Io was the right choice, but I thought WWE would prefer Trish. That's just the way I looked at it. And I've never been happier to be wrong. Now, there was some good spots in this. One of the craziest ones was a Code Red, or a fucking destroyer, from Zelina Vega on the ladder, on the top of the ladder, onto Zoe. So I guess they're up there. She Code Reds her off onto a bridged ladder that's on the ladder in the ropes. And just the way they landed, Zoe Stark's head looked like it went through the rungs of one of the ladders. Zelina Vega's legs were all up in the air, just flailing around. It was a gnarly landing, but it looked really good. Loved that. Trish, I think, went through a table at one point. Becky and her were kicking the shit out of each other. Becky, I couldn't tell if her gear, was it like a cosplay to Kick-Ass? That looked like it was the color scheme to that. I'm not sure, though. And I forgot what happened to Becky at the end, but it was more about the finish for me. Io Sky almost had it earlier in the match. She would end up winning, but there was a time in the match earlier where she actually had her hands on it, and then Bayley throws her off the ladder. And to get revenge for this, I don't even know where they came from because I'm typing or I'm doing something else. Next thing I know, I see handcuffs in the ring. Io Sky has got handcuffs, and I think it's Bayley and Becky on each side of the ladder. They're both climbing up to try to get the briefcase. Io Sky comes in the middle, handcuffs Becky's hand, and then handcuffs the other side to Bayley's hand. And she's got the two of them handcuffed together on each side of the ladder. Their arms are through the ladders. They can't move. They're stuck together. And then Io Sky climbs over and steps on Bayley's head and her shoulders to climb up. And once she was up there and you knew nobody was around, I'm like, because I kept waiting for Trish. Even though Io put the handcuffs on Bayley and Becky, I didn't think it was going to be Io winning. I thought Trish was now going to come in, push Io off or something and run up and get the briefcase, but she didn't. As soon as Io got up there and had her hand on the clamp, I'm like, that's it. And she pulled it off. She won. Couldn't be happier for her. We all love Io Sky. She's absolutely tremendous, and it feels like she's been long overdue for a title run or a push or anything like that. And her coming back now, nearly a year ago, when she returned at SummerSlam, now winning Money in the Bank. Much like Damian Priest, I feel like Io Sky has a very good chance to win the championship. But I would like to see that happen on SmackDown. I don't want Rhea Ripley's title to be cashed in on. I just don't. So I feel like Io just needs to stay put where she is. Don't even fucking worry about Raw or anything like that. Stay on SmackDown, pick your spot, SummerSlam, whenever, and cash in. I don't think it's going to be Io, like somebody pointed out, it's going to be Io and Asuka at SummerSlam. No, it isn't. It's not going to be Io and Asuka at SummerSlam. Asuka is going to defend her belt against one or two of the women she's currently feuding with, and Io is going to continue her shit with Bayley, and Io will just pick her spot and cash in whenever she sees fit. Now, she could do the babyface thing and call her shot. She definitely could do that, but I feel like there's too much going on right now with Asuka, Charlotte, and Bianca to chuck Io into that. You can wait. Let's not cash in these things 24 hours after we get them. Let's hold them for a little while and see what happens. And I think Priest and Io Sky should both hang on to their briefcases for a little bit, at the very least until SummerSlam. I don't know if we'll see two cash-ins. Have we ever seen two cash-ins on the same show since the women started having Money in the Banks? I don't think we have. So maybe you can do two cash-ins at SummerSlam or something. That would be pretty amazing if you did that. But I don't know. I would kind of space these out, and I would wait for the right time for Io Sky to cash in. And I would love for that to be on Charlotte. I would love for that to be on maybe Bianca Belair, something that might help her turn heel, maybe. I don't know. But a straight one-on-one match with Io Sky and Asuka for the title would be a pretty awesome thing to see, which is why I'm not opposed to that. I just don't feel like that's the direction WWE would go, given everything that's going on with Asuka right now and Charlotte and Bianca. So we'll see. Either way, Io has won the briefcase, and I feel like that puts her in a really good position to actually win the championship. I don't feel like she would be somebody that would unsuccessfully cash in unless Bayley has something to do with it. That could be possible. So I think it would be better if Io Sky won the championship so she could feud with Bayley for it, but that might take some time. It might not be until the summer is over. We'll just have to wait and see. Handcuffs were already on Lynch from Starks. Okay, so Stark pulled him out. Zoe pulled him out, handcuffed Lynch, and that's when Io scurried in, grabbed him, and handcuffed her to Bayley. So good. So good. I loved it. Oh, okay. Thank you, Doug Unfunny. Becky's cosplay was of Siren from X-Men. Greg's illiterate to that. And also Irish. Those are the Irish colors. I get it. Also is Irish, also in the comics. Okay. I don't know why I thought of Kick-Ass when I saw those colors, but that's what my brain said. Good. See, that's why you guys are here, to let me know what these people are dressing up as. Appreciate that. Right on. Okay, let me see who else we got here. All right, what is the next match? Seth Rollins defending the World Heavyweight Championship against Finn Balor. This one I predicted wrong. I thought I would have a little bit of fun here. I thought that Finn Balor winning the title and Priest winning the briefcase would be a fun dynamic. One thing I knew that wasn't going to happen, and we talked about a lot in the predictions, is that I did not see Judgment Day losing all three of their matches. I didn't see them going 0 for 3. We've read reports and heard reports about WWE being very happy with the performance of Judgment Day and how everything has been working out for them. And really all of them are, pretty strong in the faction, and they had a chance to get even stronger here tonight. But one thing I didn't see happening is Dom, Balor, and Priest, all coming up short in their matches. I felt like at the minimum, absolute minimum, one of them had to win their match. So that means Dominik either has to upset Cody, Balor has to upset Rollins or win the championship from Rollins, or Priest has to win Money in the Bank. And at the end of the day, I felt like Priest winning the Money in the Bank was more likely than Dominik beating Cody, and maybe even Rollins and Finn Balor, although I decided to pick Balor to win just for S&Gs, even though I don't think in my heart of hearts I really thought like it was going to happen. I don't think a lot of fans expected it either. So I think the reason I picked it is if Balor won, I'd look like a genius. Now I just look like everybody else. So that did not happen. Pretty good match. Here they've been really talking up the 2016 SummerSlam match for the World or the Universal Championship that Balor won and then had to relinquish 22 hours later when he was injured. A lot of history there, and I kind of thought that these two might be working again. They might actually work at SummerSlam, and I still think there's a chance that they do. And I feel like maybe Rollins winning here was the precursor to Balor winning the title from Rollins in a rematch at SummerSlam, just like he beat him at SummerSlam years ago for the Universal title. And maybe then, because here's my thought process here. Before we get to that, let me just get to the finish. The finish of this match, I don't even know how long they went, maybe 12 minutes, maybe not even that long. Balor has Priest down. He goes up for the coup de Gracie, and Damian Priest, who earlier on came out there with his briefcase, came out and sat down in a chair at ringside. He's watching all this. Balor is going up for the coup de Gracie. Priest sees it and stands up, maybe like out of excitement. Yeah, go get him. But him standing up was enough to distract Balor, and he's kind of looking like, what the fuck are you doing? Rollins is able to knock him off the top rope, hit him with the stomp, and win and retain the championship. So the story is Priest costs Balor the championship. Seth retains, and that's the end. Maybe this was done, because you want to do another match. I said in the predictions, given the video package that they've created for these two and the history between these two, it doesn't feel like a one-off scenario. It doesn't feel like a feud where Rollins is going to face Balor, beat him or lose to him, and then that's it. I mean, if Balor wins, you're definitely going to have a rematch. But if Seth wins with a little asterisk, with a distraction or something that gives Balor a reason for a rematch, then you're also going to have a second match. So I feel like here's what we could see based on the story they've been trying to tell to us, right? So you could do Balor and Seth now again at SummerSlam, and Balor, could they could have a promo on Monday and he'd be like, my partner stood up and distracted me. We both know you can't beat me one-on-one. I want another shot at it, whatever. Maybe they set up the match at SummerSlam, a return match, and then you do Balor beating Seth for the championship at SummerSlam. And in the video package they were running for Balor and Seth, he talked about how Rollins laughed at him when he had to relinquish the title and how much that upset him and that bothered him, and how Seth took away the championship, with the injury and all that stuff. So that seems, according to Finn Balor anyway, something that's been eating away at him for many years. So here's his chance to make it right. What better way to spoil his party of making it right than have the same thing happen again? He's facing Rollins. This time he beats him. He wins again. Finally, I've won the title. Now I'm not injured. I actually get to have a run with it. And then his boy, Damian Priest, shows up, cashes in on Balor at SummerSlam. And that's twice now. Balor has won a world championship and lost it immediately. He's now a 2-time world champion with no title defenses. Well, maybe one. Technically, the match with Priest will count, right, as one. How crazy would that be? And I think the only other person to do that was maybe CM Punk, right? Because Punk won the title from Hangman Page and was immediately injured. I think he had 2 runs and like 1 defense or something like that, whatever it was. So you could do something like that, and that would just, maybe add to Balor, and that would really add a lot of heat to the story with Priest and Balor. Maybe Priest and Balor could do a little hot potato. This shit happened all the time in the Attitude Era. You win the title, Rock and Austin did this. Or not, I'm sorry, Triple H and Rock did this, didn't they? Rock beat him at Backlash. Triple H beat him back for it at Judgment Day in that Iron Man match. And then I think The Rock won the belt back at King of the Ring? Something like that. And then 3 months later, dropped it to Angle. Think about how many times that title was bouncing around in the year 2000. You could do this here, as long as it's not a regular thing that you're doing for years and years and years. But if you want to have 2 or 3 title changes in the course of 4 months, I got no issue with that. Roman's had the other belt for 3 Olympics. I don't give a shit if they want a hot potato one. It's no big deal. It's been done before. It's not going to kill the business. Not going to do anything. If they wanted to have Priest cash in on Balor, and then Balor and Priest end up having a rematch, and then Balor wins the belt back, and then maybe Priest comes back and wins it back from him in their blow-off. Maybe it's a feud. Maybe Balor and Priest takes us through the end of the year. Whatever the December pay-per-view is, or maybe they're on opposite sides of War Games, or who knows what the hell they're going to do this year. But I wouldn't mind seeing Balor beat Seth for the title, Priest cash in on Balor then beat Priest for the title, and then maybe Priest win it back from him. Something like that within the course of the next 7 months. I wouldn't care if they did it that way, but who knows? Don't know the direction they're going to go in now. I would just assume that on Monday, Balor's going to have a major problem with Damian Priest and what he did. And there might be a segment where Judgment Day is in disarray. So we'll have to wait and see what happens on Monday. But I feel like that issue isn't completely over yet, because if Rollins doesn't set up a rematch with Balor for SummerSlam, who does Seth Rollins defend the title against at SummerSlam? Who is on the Raw roster right now that would be worthy enough of being in a SummerSlam championship match against Seth? You'd have to set something up pretty quick. unless Logan Paul shows up and wants a shot at the title or something, but I don't think so. Who else would Seth face other than Balor at SummerSlam is my question to you guys. What do you think? What do you think? By the way, I could use some thumbs up likes on this video. If you don't mind, hit us with that. Appreciate it. But all in all, unresolved stuff there in the World Heavyweight Championship, or I'm sorry, in the World Heavyweight Championship scenario. And at the conclusion of this match, with Seth winning, what that told me is that we were not going to get a one-night cash-in, because I was not believing for a second that Damian Priest is going to be coming out here and cashing in on Roman. There's too much story going on there, and I'm glad that the two briefcase holders, at least for right now, are still our briefcase holders. Main event time. This is the match we felt like could be the main event, especially with the potential finish we were going to see. And I said that in the predictions. If we do see Roman Reigns getting pinned, that needs to be in the main event. And this was Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa taking on the Usos. Man, the fans were jacked and ready for this one. This was so good. Usos make their entrance. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn were also up in one of the skyboxes. They were interviewed. I kind of thought we might see a run-in from them, but we never did. And Usos come out, make their entrance. They're welcomed very warmly. Roman and Solo come out. Fans are really hard on Roman, and they're just giving him all kinds of shit. And when they were chanting that stuff about if you like Roman, stand up, or whatever they were saying, Roman was like sitting down pouting in the corner. And he's talking to Heyman. You know, this is the dumbest place of all time. He said it was the dumbest place of all time. These people, just hilarious shit. So they were chanting that stand up, sit down thing for Roman the whole time. They might have been calling him a wanker a few times, which, he kind of is one. So that's okay. And the match was real fun. We picked the Usos to win here only because we felt like that was the only outcome you could do in terms of SummerSlam and what you're going to do with Roman Reigns. Some spots in this match that stood out to me. Jimmy going for the frog splash on Roman, and Roman catching him in the guillotine choke, which was really good. And he's choking him out, and Jimmy actually survives it, and not only survives it, but he powers his way out of it. So Roman gave a lot to his cousins here, Jay and Jimmy. Roman, say what you want about him, but he is selling for his family and selling big time. Great stuff. Roman and Solo hit double Uranagis to the Usos, which looked really good. And then we had a Samoan spike to Jimmy. And then what basically is Roman Reigns and Solo's finisher. Solo grabs Jay, Samoan spike to Jay, spear combo. So he spikes him as Roman's spearing him at the same time. He goes down, and Roman goes for, after that, then Roman goes for the stack pin. So we had the spike to Jimmy, spike spear combo to Jay. Solo drags him over, stacks them on top of each other, which Cole referenced that Roman wants to stack them the same way he did Edge and Daniel Bryan. There was a Daniel Bryan mention on the show, and they pull Jimmy and Jay over. Roman covers both of them, 1-2, and they both kick out. Crowd erupts over that kick out. You knew that wasn't going to happen. It just didn't feel like that was the way it was going to go, especially since, quite a few seconds had passed between the spear spike combo and when Solo drug the bodies over there for Roman to pin. So you had a feeling that they were going to kick out of that. Roman seemed really devastated by that, to the point where he felt like tears were coming down his face. Like he just looked completely flabbergasted as to what he has to do now to put down his cousins. So Solo kind of comes to a little bit. He grabs them. I think he grabs Jimmy. He pulls him on the outside of the ring, and he goes for a splash on the announce table, but he misses. So Solo misses the splash on the announce table. He's now down. Roman is in the ring with Jay. He hits a Superman punch to Jay, who then hits Roman with a super kick. And then Roman, I think, comes back with a spear and then goes to cover Jay. And you get the 1-2, and Jay kicks out again. But what you didn't see, and they showed you on the replay, is when Jay kicked out, his arm came up and hit Roman with a low blow. So Roman using low blows to beat so many opponents. Jay is able to get one on him in a near fall situation when the referee is out of position. By the way, we had a referee bump here too as well, and Roman was pinned earlier on in that as well when the referee was down and the crowd counted to like 10, which was pretty good. But the referee did recover. And when Jay was able to kick out of that Superman punch and spear and hit Roman with a low blow, That allowed the Usos to hit Roman with the double super kick. He's laid out in the middle. Solo is not moving on the outside of the ring by the table. Jey Uso goes up top. The Usos hit their big splash finisher on Roman. Jey comes down on Reigns, hooks the leg. 1, 2, 3. Roman Reigns pinned for the first time in 3.5 years. 2019 was the last time anybody, who I believe was Baron Corbin, to put Roman Reigns down for a pin. And you couldn't have asked for a better person to do it. Jey Uso has been just really the focal point, the center of this nucleus of this angle. This angle doesn't exist without Jey Uso. And it's the longest part of this entire bloodline shit, going on longer than even Sammy, because when Roman first showed back up as a heel and won the title and Jimmy was injured, all this shit was going on with Jey, and they main evented a couple of pay-per-views together, right? And remember, and then this is why he's called Main Event Jey Uso now. He's here to prove himself against the Tribal Chief. He puts him down and pins him in an incredible match, an incredible finish, perfect way to do it. The crowd loved it. Paul Heyman, Solo, Roman, all selling the devastating loss. And I think this is absolutely what you had to do because of what you're going to do at SummerSlam. You can't just have Roman and Solo win here just because you have this programmed belief in your brain that Roman shouldn't be pinned until he drops the title. I used to have that belief. I believed that all the way up until WrestleMania. But the more and more reports we hear about WWE having no immediate plans to even think about taking that belt off of Roman, he can eat a pin here. What's the difference at this point? So if it helps set up your SummerSlam match, then I say do it, because I don't believe personally that Jey Uso is going to beat Roman Reigns for the title at SummerSlam. So he's got to get something in on him. So beating him here, essentially clean. Yeah, it was a low blow, but Roman used enough low blows in his matches. And for the Usos to prove that they are the best tag team in the world, beating the world champion and, possibly even the next Tribal Chief, I thought was the perfect way to do it. And now you set up Roman Reigns and Jey Uso at SummerSlam for the championship. That should be a tremendous match. And who knows if that's going to be your match. Roman and Jey on paper feels like something they would do at an in-between pay-per-view, at a Chamber, at a whatever the fuck the September one is, or October. Extreme Rules, or what are these pay-per-views? The ones in between the big four. One of them is where I thought this match would normally go. So the fact that this is happening at SummerSlam in Motown in front of that big audience, they must have something pretty big planned for that. I can't imagine Roman just going in there, facing Jey one-on-one and beating him. There's got to be a storyline swerve there. Something's got to happen. Maybe Roman wins, or hell, maybe Jey Uso wins. Shit. Maybe he does. I still feel like they got to try to get Cody back to that, but who knows at this point? Cody's so far away from, Roman and his title right now. I don't even know how you make that happen, but I feel like Roman's not going to get pinned by Jey and Money in the Bank and then get pinned by Jey at SummerSlam. That I don't think is going to happen. I feel like Roman will retain, continue his run. And if he does retain and continue his run, then I don't really see the problem with the pin. Because I'm sure, even though we can't really look at Twitter right now because it's broken, I'm sure there's a lot of people like having a problem with this, or whatever, because they just read the internet too much and start thinking about only one way to think and operate and that sort of thing. And I understand that 2 months ago, I would have told you Roman shouldn't be pinned until he loses the title. But situations and circumstances sometimes change, and you have to be able to evolve your opinions and think, well, sometimes maybe it's better for this way or whatever. And if the plan internally is for Roman Reigns to carry that championship into 2024, a pin loss here isn't going to do a goddamn thing to ruin or lessen the moment of him losing the championship when he eventually does, whenever that is, 5, 6, 12 years from now, whatever they have planned. A loss here in July, months before, possibly even years before he drops the title, I don't think really matters. And I think it was the right call. I'm glad he got pinned by Jey, and now this sets up what should be a pretty fun match at SummerSlam, and maybe that's where you do a big angle or a big swerve. Maybe this is where you bring The Rock in at the end of that, or maybe this is when the entire, family revolts against Roman. Maybe his behavior is so fucked up. Maybe even Solo abandons him at this point. Maybe Alpha comes out and tells him that he's disappointed in him, or The Rock comes out and we were so proud of you, but now look at what you're doing and you're a disgrace, whatever they could do. Maybe it's something like that they're planning. Or maybe even Roman Reigns victorious and Rock comes out and has a face-off and they set up like a future match, maybe at next year's WrestleMania or something. I don't know. But in terms of this match and what they have planned for SummerSlam, Jay, Roman for the title, it's the way I would have booked it, man. Absolutely. So all in all, good stuff tonight from WWE. Excellent Money in the Bank pay-per-view. I could not have been happier with it in terms of the outcome and the matches. Like I said, was expecting a little bit more in Rollins and Finn Balor. But other than that, I mean, everything else kind of delivered on. I mean, even that women's tag, everything delivered. I wasn't even really interested in the women's tag team title match or the IC. Gunther and Riddle I knew would be a good match, but I didn't think Gunther was going to lose. So all we were going to get there is a good match. But no, they chucked in the Drew McIntyre return, which made it memorable. Shayna and Ronda defending the titles. I'm like, who gives a shit? And then we get a turn. Ronda turns on Shayna, shocks the world. Liv and Raquel win the titles, and now we've got a big Shayna and Ronda program on the table here for us, probably at SummerSlam, which will probably have some sort of a combat stip to it. Fight pit would be great. Lion's Den, something like that is probably what they're going to do there. But overall, I thought it was great. How would you guys rate the Money in the Bank matches themselves, if you have any idea? Because I have trouble remembering the greatness of them all. Where would the men's match measure up in terms of some of the more recent ones? And what about the women? They started doing this what year? I don't even remember. 2018, maybe? 2017? Maybe it was 2017. I forgot how many times. I know Carmella won the first two, right? But there hasn't been a ton of women's Money in the Bank matches, 4 or 5 or 6 or something like that. So I don't know where this one ranks with the rest of them, because I don't remember the rest of them. So you guys can tell me, did you like this one more? Did you like it less? Are there other women's Money in the Bank matches that were better than this one? Because that Code Red by Zelina and Zoe was pretty damn badass. I think I'll remember that one for the rest of the year. But I want to know what you guys think about it. So 2017, yeah, that's right. So 2017, I think that first one where didn't Ellsworth grab the briefcase, and I remember us bitching about that. The first ever women's Money in the Bank briefcase, and a man pulls it off. Are you fucking kidding me? And then I think the next year they made right on that and had Carmella win it. But I don't think I remember many of the other winners. I know Asuka won it once, and Liv Morgan, and who else? Alexa Bliss. Okay, so we're up to 5. I've got almost all of them. I've remembered all of them. See, I'm not that dumb. Yeah, the Ellsworth interference, that was horrible. Good to see J-Love in here. 2000s Wrestling. Hey, Greg, I have to miss this live stream because my phone about to die. Well, damn, man. Plug that shit in. Go find a potato. Something like that. Max, yeah, Rock and Mankind did a hot potato too. That's right. They did. A lot of that was going on in early 99 there. Deadly Games, Raw that put butts in seats, Rumble 99, Backstage Brawl, and then finally the ladder match. Yeah, so Rock won the title at Deadly Game. Then he lost the title on January 4th. Then he won the title back at Royal Rumble. Then he lost the title again at Halftime Heat. Then he won the title back again on Raw the night after Valentine's Day Massacre, right, to take the title into WrestleMania. So that was 5. They would do it again in 2000. They might have even done it a little bit in 2002. Jericho was champion. Triple H won it from him. Hogan won it from him. Taker won it from him. Rock won it from Taker. Brock won it from Rock. Paul White or Big Show won it from Brock Lesnar. Think about that in 2002. Triple H, Hogan, Taker, Rock, Brock, and Show all held the title within 7 months. 7 months. That's insanity, man. So we could see some stuff like that again. I wouldn't mind that, because if you're going to have one championship, bolted onto one guy with big, strong bolts that you need tools to unscrew. The other one you can play around with. Flop it around, throw it on Priest, throw it on Balor, give it to Seth. Just don't give it to Logan Paul. That's all I ask. I kind of was hoping that Zelina Vega would win the Money in the Bank briefcase and then cash in on Roman Reigns in the main event, hitting him with the flip-flop. That's what you should have done. Because that flip-flop's devastating, man. You got to watch out for a flip-flop. What does she call it? A Cholula? Or is that the hot sauce? What's the flip-flop called? I think it's Cholula or something like that. Maybe it's Tapatio. I don't know. Don't know. Let's see if you guys have anything else interesting to say in the chat. I'll answer any questions if you guys have any. It's Saturday night, man. You don't want to ask any questions on Saturday night? No Saturday night questions? Anybody got an eye on Collision? What's happening on Collision? What's going on? Anybody got an eye on Triple H in that press conference? Zane G, thank you for the reminder on that. No, I did not do a topic yet. I will plan to talk about Droz, but I'm not really sure when that's going to happen because I've got a lot going on this weekend. I'm about to go out of town. So why don't we make it right here? We learned yesterday that former WWE wrestler Darren Drosdov passed away at the age of 54. Of course, Droz was better known as Puke in WWE. He was highlighted in the Beyond the Mat movie where he was brought into Vince's office and he's gonna puke. He's gonna puke. We all remember that. And Droz was brought in to be a third member of the LOD, joining Hawk and Animal. And that whole thing was really weird. That was in the middle of Hawk's substance abuse angle that they were doing. And I had the pleasure of watching Droz wrestle a bunch of times live, even some of his dark matches when he first got in there before he became Puke. He was just Droz or Darren Drosdov, or I think they might have been calling him Puke, but it was just kind of his nickname at that point or whatever. And he was he wrestled a little bit in ECW around that time as well. But I saw some of his dark matches and when he first came into the company and some of his LOD stuff. And he had a lot of potential, former football player. He had a great physique, good look. And everybody kind of thought that he really did have a chance. But once he got going in WWE, the LOD stuff didn't work out. They did the thing where he kind of pushed Hawk off the Tron, and that whole angle was a little weird. So everything that he was doing, the booking of Droz was a little strange. And I think it was, I think he was struggling to get over, and he didn't really feel like that much of a main eventer during that time, but he was still a really good worker who everybody liked, who had a lot of charisma and potential. And unfortunately, in October, I believe, of 1999, during a SmackDown taping, he was in the ring with D'Lo Brown and suffered a tragic accident. D'Lo was going for, I think, one of his running power bombs or whatever, and they just botched it, landed wrong. He came down right on his head, broke his neck, instantly paralyzed, and they took him out of the ring. And he was, basically in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. I can't remember how far down he was paralyzed, if it was neck or if it was waist, but it was mostly neck. I know as he got older, he was able to move around a little bit. He was even able to go to conventions and meet fans and things like that. With the vehicle he was able to move around in. I think WWE had done like a Where Are They Now piece on him, showing his house and how he's been getting along over the years. WWE has, of course, taken care of him financially after the accident, paying him millions of dollars, in damages for that, just to, allow him to live as comfortably as possible. And the cool thing about Droz is despite that tragedy, every time you ever saw Droz after the fact, and it hasn't been many times, I've only seen him a few times, but he's always been extremely positive and optimistic and upbeat about his tragic situation. The dude handled his injury with dignity and with class. Never once blamed anybody. D'Lo Brown, who I was thinking a lot about this week because he always has had a lot of guilt, internal guilt for what happened. Even though Droz doesn't blame him at all, and even though the fans don't blame him at all, what happened to Droz can happen any day ever in this business. It could have happened tonight. It can happen on Monday. Could have happened last night on SmackDown. It can literally happen anywhere on any show to any company, TV, house show, pay-per-view, doesn't matter, indie promotion, Japanese promotion, AEW, WWE, does not matter. When you are watching two people in the ring wrestling, there's a chance that can happen. Just like when you get in your car and you drive, there's a chance you'll die. And it just happened. It's an accident. And D'Lo really carried around a lot of guilt, even though I think him and Droz maintain good relationships. I know D'Lo's visited Droz, but you just have to think about what that does to you mentally if you're on the other side of that. Even though Droz is the one injured, Droz is the one whose life has changed. Don't forget about the man that has to live with that too, because that's got to be very, very hard. I've always thought about D'Lo in that respect, that, man, I would just hate to have to carry that around. Butch, nearly had to carry something similar around and probably carries enough of his own. Not Butch, Ridge Holland probably carries a similar amount of guilt around because of what happened to Big E. And if you're on the other side of that, and if you're the person delivering the move, you're probably going to feel very, very bad. But I think D'Lo Was lucky that, that happened with Droz and that Droz was understanding and there was no blame and the two of them were able to remain friends. And just Droz's overall attitude and the way he handled himself and conducted himself post-injury is something that I think we should all admire. His courage, his strength to be able to get through that. Never seemed bitter, never seemed upset. And this is a guy whose life was turned completely upside down in an instant, to where it was never going to be the same. He was never going to walk again. He walked to the ring that night, and that was the last time he ever walked. And unfortunately, I don't think we know what the cause of death is, other than I believe it's natural causes. But again, that injury is primarily probably the reason why he passed away at the age of 54, is just because of, his health after that. Had he never gotten injured, he might be in the ring right now for all we know, or still making appearances or something, but would probably be alive and well. And that does make me sad, to know that had that injury not happened, not only would Droz have been able to have hopefully a long career in wrestling, but would still be alive and perfectly happy and healthy to this day. And unfortunately, bad things just happened. But I will always remember Droz for how entertaining he was, how he was somebody that nobody else could have that distinction of being able to vomit on command. Now, granted, he choked, no pun intended, in the Beyond the Mat segment. He really wasn't able to do it in front of Vince in the movie, but his whole thing was to come out to the ring and puke, and then the LOD thing. I mean, what wrestler has been named Puke and been named Puke as a positive name? It wasn't meant to be, shameful or a hateful name in any way. Puke was a compliment. And Droz was interesting. He was unique. There was no one like him. And I think, honestly, even though the LOD had really fallen off there in 98 and the LOD 2000 was a joke and Sonny didn't last and the Hawk substance abuse problems and the angle they made out of it was completely ridiculous. But all of that aside, if you just look at the idea, taking Droz, making him a member of LOD, a third member, years after their prime, when they're aging, kind of fallen off, a chance to give a young guy a rub from the two of them. That all on paper seems like a great idea. And in terms of how he looked, he did look good. He looked like he fit with them because he already had a wild hairdo, and once they put it in a little ponytail and gave him some face paint, he was a big guy, big tough guy, football player, just like Laurinaitis is. So he fit right in there with Animal and with Hawk too. And who knows, maybe if it was booked better, if it was more well thought out, and they weren't doing so much stupid shit back in 1998, maybe that could have worked better. But in terms of him with the shoulder pads, the face paint, and his look, I think if you're going to add, a member to LOD in the twilight of their career, I don't think you could have really picked a better guy to do it with than Drosdov. He had the look, he had the tools, and it's a shame. It's really a shame. Rest in peace to Darren Drosdov. Heartbreaking tragedy and heartbreaking injury, and it's heartbreaking that he passed away at such an early age. But I'm always going to remember him for just not being bitter, not being angry about his situation, blaming no one. And anytime he was in front of a camera, photographed or videoed speaking, it was always positive. It was always positive, never complaining about nothing. Man, life sucks. I got to roll around in this thing, man, and I fucking can't sleep. And I watch wrestling and I hate everything that's going on there. No, it was none of that. Everything was just all about positivity and, showing people that even in the worst of times, that remaining positive is really good for you. And it's just a shame. It's just a bummer that he passed away. That was really kind of deflating. I'm just glad that he's at peace. Hopefully he's at peace, knowing what wound up happening to him. But he could have lived his life a much different way if he wanted to. He could have lived a life of anger and resentment and things like that, and he didn't. He lived the exact opposite of that. And to me, that's just tremendously admirable. So rest in peace to Darren Drosdov, and condolences to his family and friends for sure. I know he did have a lot of love and support from colleagues and peers and former wrestlers. Even The Rock chimed in. A lot of people who worked with him, knew him, shared a locker room with him, whatever, chimed in to show love to Droz. And the mark he left on the business. It's a shame. Rest in peace to Droz. So thank you for reminding me about that, Zane, because I near forgot to talk about Darren Drosdov. Maybe some people did not know this news. Yeah, it was WWE opened with a graphic on SmackDown last night for him, and no real details on his death. Thank you. We've got Dustin and Hobbs going on right now on Collision in the Owen Hart Cup tournament that's going on. I'll be sure to check out Collision tonight. We have a watch along tomorrow, SummerSlam 2005. We're going to watch that. It's already up on the channel. You can click it, save it for tomorrow night. That's going to be tomorrow night's classic pay-per-view watch along. Unfortunately, after tomorrow, I'm not sure when you are going to see me again. I thought I was going to be up here Monday night after Raw. Thought some things might go down. We might have some Balor and Priest arguments or some Judgment Day collapses or Brock showing up to attack Cody. I think we're going to get some of that on Monday, but unfortunately, I am going to be at work. I never work Mondays, but I'm leaving on Wednesday for the rest of the week to go to the East Coast. So I'm just kind of working a lot before I go. So Monday night, there will not be a review of Monday Night Raw. If Raw is crazy and crazy things go down, even though I don't think anybody's going to be here to watch it, I could technically come up on Tuesday and do a daytime live stream recapping Raw or whatnot. But it's the 4th of July. I think we're all going to be at the beach that day and shit like that. So that might be a bad day. And then, of course, on Wednesday, I leave. So we are in the middle of watching all of these Saturday night's main events right now. If you're a channel member, you can be a part of that series. We started it last Tuesday, but we know we're going to have to skip this Tuesday since it's a holiday. So we'll pick that up as soon as I get back, and maybe we'll double up on an episode so we can try to get caught up with those. So a lot of stuff coming to the channel this summer, but in the next few days, you're not going to see me again until tomorrow night for the watch along. And then after that, it might be a full week. I'm going to try to get something up, maybe record a mic drop, something to give you content while I'm gone. I promise you, but stay tuned, stay subscribed. Make sure you follow me if Twitter works and on all the social medias and all that stuff for all the latest. But that's my plan. Also, the podcast audio version to this episode, I will push out to the feed here in just a little bit so you can listen to this in audio form if you would like. And I think that's really all I have left to inform you guys of. It's going to be one of my last streams for about a week as I go on vacation. Yeah, Michael, a lot of people forgot about Collision. We did. What's stopping Damian Priest from cashing in on Rhea Ripley? Good question. I don't know, White Mamba. It is 2023 after all, and we had Austin Theory cashing in to win the U.S. title, right? Why can't you do a cash-in for Rhea's belt? I'd be into that. Where's Bobby Lashley, by the way? Where's Lashley? WWE remembers they employ him, right? Because if they do, what they should do is bring him to TV and, put him in the ring, like what you would do with really awesome wrestlers that should be used. Where is that guy? Yeah, Droz was a defensive end. There was footage. I forgot who he played for. Maybe the Broncos. There was footage of an NFL game where he did puke on the field or something like that. I think that's where he got that nickname from. I remember when he came in, they made a big deal about him. A lot of video packages and things like that of who he was. Thank you, Rodrigo. Payback is coming in September. Yeah, do it at Payback. That's what you need to do. Anyway, I think I'm just kind of rambling at this point, kind of kill some time. But if you guys want to hit me with a few more thumbs up buttons there, I would appreciate it. If you are not a subscriber, please do that. We are on the road to 40,000. We're almost there. So hook me up with that. And I'm going to try to do my best to keep you guys updated on the social media. So please follow me on Instagram and Twitter specifically. Those are where you will get the most updates. Facebook, I suck at. And who knows, man, if while I'm on the East Coast, maybe I'll just upload a video and say hi to you guys. But if I do that, it's going to be for members only. So I wouldn't be surprised in a few days if you just see a quick little 10-minute video from me sitting in my hotel room for the members just to say hi so we can chat. So keep a lookout for that. You might be able to see me again before I come back in a week. But until then, just make sure you save tomorrow's video and you're here tomorrow night to watch SummerSlam 2005 as we watch Shawn Michaels oversell the balls out of Hulk Hogan. That's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you so much for being here tonight to watch this Money in the Bank review. I appreciate it, and I will catch you guys